next speaker, Schone Malliet, is the founder and CEO of the National Winter Sports Education Foundation. The NWSE Foundation is in the process of leading the purchase of a ski area outside New York City, specifically to teach kids, urban and all kids really, how to ski and snowboard. Schone is on a mission to improve conversion rates for skiing. He has a great perspective to share with you today. He and I debated some of his numbers that he's going to present. Let's see what you guys think. Please welcome Schone Malliet to the MTS Talks.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Some changes here, you can take a break.
Happy as you're going to get right now. My friends would describe me as an intellectual nerd with an edge, which means that my whole presentation's been shot by Google and glasses and all that stuff, so I just want to know where mine are. Now, if I can get this to work. So, increasing participation in winter sports. I'm not an expert, but I would say that all of you would agree that it's either declining, flat, or somebody said at a rate of 2.5%. So really, what are we going to do so that you guys don't fight over the same market share, right? You guys can respond, right? Okay, good. So what makes the industry happy? New participants, how do we retain them, and can we do it cost effectively? And I would argue the fact that we haven't done any of those things very well. Some numbers. SIA says the retention rate of a first-time skier in 2012 was about 15%. They also will say to you that if they start at 25 years old, their average spend is about $1,000 a year. So if I do some basic math, take that 100 skiers times 15%, right, times $1,000 a year, that's $300,000 of industry lifetime value. I don't know, but that's not a lot of money given what you spend on marketing today. I know we care. I know that we can, if we get them, we can expand them, but I would argue that the customers that we have, we don't know how to identify them. We surely might not know how to understand them. And if we don't understand them, there is no way in the world that we can retain them. It's my own little calculus computation, and I hated math. But I'm going to ask you guys to write down a number between 50 and 75%, 50 and 100, right? Write it down. And the second thing I want you to do is write down the question, who's responsible for increasing participation in winter sports? And I don't want the answer everybody. And I don't want the answer I don't know. FTS, first-time skier times retention rate, times the lifetime value gives you the industry value for conversion rate. And I would argue there's not a single resort in here who cares about that because, quite frankly, that number never comes to all of us. So let's look at this metric. Let's use 100, because that's an easy number for me to get to. Retention rate of 15. An average value, that 2.07 is $2,000 a year, and their average lifetime value is $72,000. You take that average lifetime value and multiply it times the 35 years that SIA says is at their lifetime participation. So those 100 converted by 15% have an industry value of about $1 million. Now don't pay attention to the numbers because there's a better story to this, or maybe not. This is the scary one. This is a first-time skier who you pick up at 25 years old. You're going to keep 15 of them. Their average spend is going to be $1,000. Their lifetime spend for the time that they'll enjoy the sport will be about $19,000. So those 15 are going to generate a whopping $300,000 over 20 years. Why do you do it? This is from SIA. These are not my numbers. But this is where Bruce and I depart. because there is the possibility that you could find participants at 25 years old at a conversion rate of 75%. Not only that, they'll spend 3 times what the average spend is. And so that's $3,000 times that 75, that's $90,000. And that same industry value is about $3 million. How many of you disagree with me? Raise your hand. Don't be bashful. Bruce is the only one. 1, 2, 3. Only 4 of you? Where's the rest of you? Why don't you disagree with me? Anybody? So I'm going to tell you why. So, National Brotherhood of Skiers, first of all, is your largest identifiable market in the United States. It impacts 20,000 skiers a year, about 45 clubs. How many of you have experienced the MBS? Oh, okay. So, do you know that an MBS participant spends 3 times as much as everybody else? I know that at Sun Valley 4 weeks ago, I'm not going to put them on the spot, but I know how much money they made. Let me tell you something else about this. We have a 75% retention rate. And I'm not talking about just the community. What I'm really talking about is that any community does this, about $3 million. Why? Because they don't organize from the sport, they organize for some like value. So they take more trips, they plan more trips, they spend more money, they upgrade more often, and they expand with family and professionals. I'm going to skip now to specialization. You can't be all things to all people. So the project we are embarking on is purchasing a ski area in New Jersey, completely re-engineering at a cost of $6.2 million, to focus on instruction for youth-serving agencies, only instruction, and to be profitable with 3,000 participants. And by the way, fully fundable, because our mission is not to introduce them to the sport, it's to improve their life, health, and fitness by winter activities, reducing obesity and reducing the incidence of diabetes too. That's fundable. So here's some interesting metrics. Within 60 miles, there are 2.5 million kids within 60 miles of the resorts in New Jersey. 3,000 participants, the YMCA of New York's already committed to 1,000. We use Bruce's rate of 50% conversion. That's 1,500. And 10% of them will be competitors. But I would argue that the real key to this is that it's a different way of marketing, not only marketing, but specializing. This will only do instruction. There will be no free skiing. There are no rentals. The participants will be pre-provisioned. There'll be no debt, and we have brand new lifts, brand new snowmaking, and we'll only focus on instruction. So here's some reality about the numbers. I don't know, but you can tell that's dated, right? You can tell why that's dated. Somebody's hair, and also those shorts they're wearing playing basketball. That's really dated. But here's the other part about this. So that individual that you see up there, you would never have marketed to. Never. From the South Bronx, grew up in the city, would never have marketed to. Today, that individual, first of all, is an Alpine official, technical delegate, coaches, sits in the industry, and let's go with the expansion. His 14-year-old is a ski racer who started at 3 years old, sits in the back, influence a whole other segment of individuals that exist today. So I know Bruce is going to challenge me, but here's the best result at the end. 75% retention rate, and a bottom number, that $3 million, I don't know, that's 10 times the amount. If you want to cut that in half, you can cut it in 3/4. It's still better than what we're doing today. Is that right, Mike? All right. So here's some thoughts. Who's responsible for increasing participation? And what will you do differently? And if you don't believe me in the numbers, I offer you to challenge me on that. Because I know there are resorts out here who will sit there and say they know what the spends are and they know how often these guys come back. So, can I make you happy? Can I? Come on, okay? Everybody stand up.
Crazy what I'm about to say.
Come on. Come on.
Sunshine is here, you can take a break. Hot air balloon that I could go to space.
Long one.
With the air like I don't care.
There you go.
Baby, by the way.
So we're over, okay.
Yeah.
So I did talk to Schone for about an hour last night about his 75% retention rate compared to the industry standard of 15 to 18%, and wondered how we were going to close that gap. It actually caused me to miss the Valhalla Gala, but we're not going to talk about that. So just real quick, we can understand it when you have an area that is focused on teaching, because teaching is the critical link to get conversion going. But where are we going to really get this difference? You talk about community, and sure, MBS is a community and means a lot of things to a lot of people who are into skiing and being part of that community. But where are we going to find these other communities? Give us a couple examples that these people can really start to take advantage of.
So it's a great question. First of all, how many of you belong to fraternities, sororities, professional organizations, churches, schools? Where'd you go to school?
UConn, Huskies.
UConn Huskies. He didn't play basketball.
How do you know?
I know. But let me ask you a question. What did you do there?
I ran the ski club.
You ran a ski club. But that's a community. These are people who went to UConn who chose skiing to do. Did you drink a lot?
A little bit.
Misery loves company. Alpine is terrible to learn. I tell you about the NBS is that it retains those people. I'll give you a closing example. My fiance brought her girlfriend up to Sun Valley. She had never skied before. And I had to walk her through the rental process because you know how that feels for a first-time skier.